Honor was so kind enough to send me their top mid-range flagship, the Honor 400 Pro. So we will do an unboxing and first look. So let's get started. This is the box, and I want to talk a little bit about the specifications while you can see, have a look around the box. You can see this is the typical very slim kind of box. So yes, we don't have a charging brick in here. The 400 Pro comes equipped with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, so last year's top flagship device. Processor that we have here on board on the Honor 400 Pro. We have a 200 megapixel main camera sensor, a little bit smaller than last year's on the 200 Pro. And we have the SIM ejection tool, and we have a power cable here as well. This is USB Type-C to USB Type-C. C2C cable, very nice. So I'm a bit sad that they don't ship with a charger. That's it. Usually you also have a little bit of paperwork here, but because this is a review unit, it doesn't ship with the paperwork. And let's get this version out of here. And what we can see here is that I got this kind of silver design. And depending on how the light shines on it, you can see a bit of green and blue there as well. Honor logo. The CE marks here, not so, not a friend of those. Maybe they can hide it next time. Here we have the camera bump with the 200 megapixel main camera sensor. I don't even know if it's this one here or not. And then I think we have a periscope zoom, and we have an ultra wide angle there as well. And we have a front-facing dual camera there as well. This should be 50 megapixel and I think a zoom sensor or depth sensor, something like this. Then here on the side we have the volume rocker, we have a power, we have the speaker IR blaster, another microphone, and on the bottom we have another speaker, USB Type-C, but I think it's only USB 2.0 specification, which would explain why it's only a mid-range device, because Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 could be also a flagship device. Dual nano SIM, but you also have the ability to use an eSIM if you want to. The screen is curved on all four sides. You can see there a bit micro curved display. So very, very nice there indeed. Yeah, let's take a look at more specifications of those of this device here. One thing that I can tell you for sure is they have also curved the sides a bit. This makes it very, very pleasant feeling in the hand. So it is not completely flat on all sides. It has a little bit of a curve there to it, which makes it like a bit slimmer than it actually is, which is, I think, pretty cool. You can see the 6.7-inch display, 120 Hz refresh rate, can get pretty high with the nits. The peak brightness 5000, but I would guess it gets over 1200 or 300 with the whole screen outside, so outdoors visibility should be nice. Sadly, no LTPO tech here on board, so I think the refresh rate is not going from 1 Hz to 120 Hz. Maybe it's going from 60 to 120 Hz. And this is the device. As you see here, the bezels are quite slim there. AMOLED screen. Nice PWM dimming that you know from Honor already. See, the cutout is nicely done. And you don't see any pixels because it's like 2800 by 1200 something pixels. So it is very, very sharp of a display. So they don't cheap out on the display for sure. And also not the build quality here. The glass is very nice on the front, but also on the back. This is glass and it doesn't feel hollow, or you can just press it in or something like this. So it is a very solid build for sure. In direct comparison to the predecessor, and yes, the predecessor was also glass, and glass breaks, no? Jerry. You can see that the 400 is a little bit smaller there. It's a little bit less high. And the widths, I think, should be fairly the same. But you can see it's a bit thicker. It got a bit thicker. Put a little bit of weight on. At least it looks like this. Yeah, it is a bit thicker there. This was like a lot rounder here. This is less round. This might also come to this, might also like come to the same conclusion. You can see the camera island, and here it is like multiple islands there of cameras. 12 megapixels, no, what is it? Yeah, 12 megapixel, I think, ultra wide angle, and 50 megapixel 3x periscope zoom here, which is, I think, also quite nice. So we do a camera sample right after I have all the other specs done, but you can see the rest looks pretty much identical to the predecessor here, but the CPU power should be greater there for sure, thanks to the new flagship Snapdragon they put in there. One thing that I really like with Honor devices is that when I want to get this device set up, my old Honor 200 Pro recognizes the device, and the only thing that I have to do is now scan this QR code, and then I have the ability to just get all the data and my login Honor ID from my old Honor 200 Pro to the new 400 Pro. This makes it super easy to just log in and have all your data transferred. There is, of course, the possibility to set everything up by yourself, but if you have the option to do so, why not? The fingerprint reader is set a little bit low on the display, as you see here, but it was already also on the 200 Pro, so nothing really changed there in terms of the placement, but also the technology they are using here is just optical fingerprint, so you have to press multiple times and rearrange your finger to scan in your fingerprint scanner. This is a tried and true, already tested kind of device. I wouldn't expect them to have the ultrasonic fingerprint readers because this is something for the ultra flagships right now. But maybe next year this can trickle down to the mid-range phones as well, as the ultrasonic fingerprint scanners get more common. And here's the face recognition. Even though we have like this pill here, there's only a depth sensor and only a 50 megapixel camera. This means no 3D face unlock, as some people wrote 3D face unlock, but there's no 3D face unlock. I have to hold it a bit closer. There we go. And it recognized my face, so it's only 2D. Short update from the future. Even though it doesn't have 3D face unlock, it has an infrared face unlock, so you can see even in this dim lit, very dark situation, could even go into an even darker corner like this one here. It is able to unlock with my face because it has an infrared scanner there as well that helps with unlocking even in the darkest places. So it is an upgrade in comparison to the Honor 200 Pro. I can enable also a login with mask if I want to, but we are out of those times. I can set up Google Pay if I need to, but I skip this for now, and then I can use all those services system. Of course, I want the gestures here, and here we are in the system. As you can see, I can set up my eSIM, I can update the device and optimization parameters, so I will do this immediately. But before we do anything further, let's go, and I know this, we go into settings and we go into storage. We want to check out how much storage we have. This is the 512 gigabyte version, and you can see here 582 gigabytes are available, so roughly 30 gigabytes are used, which is quite a lot. I think others might be a little bit less hungry on storage there, 20 gigabytes, but it might be wrong, but it's okay. 482 gigabytes is well enough for this device, I would say. Then when it comes to battery, this is quite interesting because you can see we have also Google Gemini and Circle to Search on board. When it comes to battery, this is quite interesting because the Chinese version again has, I think, 6,000 milliampere hours. This one here, the European version, has 5,300 milliampere hours of battery. As you see, it should be in the About phone as well. There you can see it, Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, 12 gigabytes of RAM, 5,300 milliampere hours silicon carbon battery here on the Honor 400 Pro. So very capable device for sure. Feels already very fluid, and I like this. The CPU here, previous flagship device, is really, really great. And yeah, I think the cameras will be interesting to see because I think it might be a slight downgrade to the Honor 200 Pro, but we'll have to see. And talking about the cameras, I think I will do some camera samples now. This is now the front-facing camera of the Honor 400 Pro. The 50 megapixel sensor supports, of course, 4K 30 frames per second recording, but for some reason it is limited to 1080p by default, but 4K 30 is fine. And the cool thing is, because we don't have the flagship from Honor here, we have a mid-range phone, and all the Honor series phones allow this. You can switch to the back-facing cameras just by tapping a button. And here you can see at 4K 30 frames per second the main camera, the 200 megapixel camera there. We can also switch to the ultra wide angle by tapping a button 0.6 times. This is the 12 megapixel ultra wide angle. As you can see here, HDR looks fine. So the clouds are looking on the screen at least the same as what I see here. It's a bit overblown there, where I can see with my eyes still that there's a little bit of details that is lost probably. And we can also zoom in, like we can switch to the 3x zoom. This works pretty smooth, I would say. This is 3x now, this is a 50 megapixel zoom. And let's see, we can go up to 10 times here at 4K 30 frames per second. As the front-facing camera doesn't support 4K 60, this is sadly the only option that you have here. So what do you think about the quality? Let's go back to 1x. And let's see how this looks like with the zoom. I didn't see it zooming out when you add 10x to zoom out to the 1x. The 1x is a 1/1.4 inch size sensor here, so a little bit smaller than on the predecessor. However, we have 200 megapixels here. That should help eventually with high-res shots. I don't know. It's a newer sensor. Hopefully this one would work a little bit better. I hope they didn't cheap out on those here. But what do you think about the quality here of the video? And let's check out a little bit of photos as well. The video performance is okay. Like I said before, mid-range device, it would be okay in the region of 500 euros, maybe 600 euros, but above, definitely not. The selfie struggles a lot. You see it here with the indoors shot, not only with stabilization being a bit shaky, my face not really sharp, everything a bit blurry, overexposed. When it comes to going into a little bit more of natural light, you can see it is doing a lot better, and this shows like, yeah, it is okay. Also for an 800 euros smartphone, it is doing okay in light conditions. Then when we switch to the main camera sensor, you can see that we have a bit of an color issue. The colors are a bit too punchy, it's a bit too contrasty, but most of the time I don't like the over sharpening that we see. The stabilization is okay, it's fine. I don't see much of an issue there with stabilization, but I see a bit of aliasing, and you can see the huge difference when I switch from the main camera sensor, which is a bit over sharpened, but look at the greens, and now to the ultra wide angle, much more punchy, just like a different day completely. Much more softer as well. They don't add so much sharpening, or the lens is in general a bit softer. Contrast level is still high, but the difference between main and ultra wide angle is something they have to correct. It's like, this is, look at this, bit of a bluish tint. Look at the reds of the house, look at the greens, and then I go to the ultra wide angle. Just a second, give me a second. Boom! Completely different reds, completely different greens, as if it would be a completely different camera or completely different device. Then the exposure, I think the HDR is catching itself a little bit, but HDR is not so well. This is why I mean, like I said, the ultra wide angle is the weak point, the weak spot here, and the processing is not doing it justice. Like I said, for vlogging and so on, yes, it is fine. 4K 30 frames is stable enough as well, but I have to see others at the same price point around 800 euros, and we are coming into like flagship territory there already. And this camera system is not it. You can see a lot of noise here on the bottom, and this at daylight. It's like, what's going on? I mean, this sensor on this device, no, this is for video, it's not good. Then the zoom is okay at 68 millimeter, no issues, 3x here. Quality is quite good. This is actually even better than the main camera sensor because it's not adding so much contrast. I think the colors are even nicer, and it's not over sharpening so much, which the main camera sensor is doing. So yeah, the nicest sensor looking on video here. When I go to 10x, however, it's showing its weakness as well. So yeah, nope. Video performance on the Honor 400 Pro is not an improvement over the Honor 200 Pro. We have no animation going from the zoom to the 1x again. 1x is way too contrasty. a little bit too over sharpened there, and yeah, it's not pleasant. When I go to a vlog style, you can see how much sharpening there is applied. There are outlines basically around me, and I'm just way too sharp there. The bokeh is nice, but everything is like way too sharp, and in between the frames you can see that keeps the sharpness on my face, but look at this here, my hand and the artificial sharpening there, the HDR. It's a bit of weak. I hope that Honor can improve upon this. I would guess that if Honor would have included the movie mode, like from the Magic 7 or Magic 6 Pro series, or even the Magic V series, we could rescue a little bit there, because their aggressive sharpening is not there and the colors are not as punchy. I will try the Pro mode at one point, but I'm mostly disappointed by the video performance here. It is okay, like I said, for a mid-range device around 500 euros, but we are talking here 800 euros, and that has to compete against others that are almost always better in video performance. My first impressions of the photo quality of the Honor 400 Pro. We start off with the default settings, just taking it out. The only thing that I did is turning on the watermark. We start off with the ultra wide angle. The ultra wide angle has quite some punchy colors, as you see here, lots of contrast, and it's very punchy, that's for sure. The sharpness and detail level is okay. It is a bit over sharpening, like all the ultra wide angles are doing. It's not the best 60mm one for sure in terms of detail levels. It's getting a bit soft towards the side, like every ultra wide angle is doing so. Has a bit of struggle with HDR for sure, and details here, for example, this is a net with holes inside, but you don't see it. So yeah, detail level is a bit of lacking there, and the over sharpening, the amount of over sharpening is a bit too much and is not helping there in providing more accurate information there. The close-up shot with the telezoom lens is quite good. I don't think you can do true macro with it, but you can see from the detail levels here and the bokeh, it is quite convincing, and I like that shot at 68mm. 68mm is the same focal length as with the predecessor, just that the main camera sensor has been changed from 27 to 24mm on the Honor 400 Pro. This is why the 68mm telezoom is now 3x instead of 2.5x. This one is a bit overexposed, so yeah, they struggle a little bit with this one. Sharpness and leave detail level is okay with this new 200 megapixel sensor. I see a little bit of AI processing already, sharpness fall off there of this large sensor, 1.4 inch size sensor. It's a bit smaller than the predecessor, but the bokeh is quite nice, and I think the sharpness and detail level is okay. Colors, like I said, a bit overexposed, but okay-ish. Then we have a hardcore portrait shot. Yes, I had forgotten to take the watermark on. This is why I added it later on. This is a 2x crop on the main camera sensor, and it's doing quite well. So here I think the 200 megapixels are playing out their strength, even if it's indoors, even there's a bit of noise going on already, but the sharpness and detail level is okay. Also the cutout that is like not a real bokeh, it's a fake bokeh here, is doing quite nice. There's a bit, you can see hairs, single hairs you can find, but here not anymore, not so much. It's like blurring them out a little bit. So it has some weakness there, but I think overall it's doing a good job. Also the selfie cam with bokeh mode is doing a good job. It's a bit punchy again, but this has something to do with the default vivid colors we talk about in a second. A bit recreation of my eyebrows, very nice cutout here. All the hair strands, even the little ones, are captured, which is quite nice. My hand is captured there. Had some issues here a little bit, I would say. But the rest is fine for a selfie cam. It's doing a good job at outdoors conditions on my first impressions. The zoom camera here, 68mm, is doing a solid job. I don't see much difference towards what we had with the predecessor here. It's a bit over sharpened for sure. Again, a bit more punchy colors and a bit more contrasty. A bit disappointed that the 6x zoom option here, 135mm, is raising the exposure levels to oblivion almost. So it's overexposing for sure. The detail level is also not very impressive there. It is something that I could use, but you can see the detail level is definitely lacking. And at 10x, it's, I think, better exposed now. It's still not the initial exposure that we had, even though it's just a crop in from the telezoom lens. And here I lack too much detail. The AI tries to help there, but this is like borderline usable, not for a crop, just maybe like this, it can be usable. But if you want to read what's written on this sign here, you are out of luck. And 20x and 30x likewise, you can just simply forget, and the maximum zoom as well. Color difference, this is the normal vivid mode. They by default choose vivid. I don't know why. I don't like it too much, I have to say, but just for reference, here's the difference. This is vivid, this is natural. You can see that there's a slightly overexposure in HDR change, where here it's still exposed nicely. It's getting overexposed in the natural mode. And then we have the textured mode, which I think we can explain here a little bit better. This is the natural mode. Colors, lots of toys of my daughter here. As you see, look at the blue, the yellow and the green. I changed now to the default vivid mode, which looks like this. You can see it's over punched and a bit too contrasty. And then to the textured mode, which is like adding a little bit more contrast, adding a little bit vignetting, and I think the exposure is a little bit lower there as well. So I would like really to have this textured mode here, but based upon this natural mode eventually. This would suit, I think, a little bit better the whole scene here. This is just, the vivid mode is too punchy, and the textured mode I think is a stylish kind of thing. The textured mode I like a little bit more than the vivid mode, but definitely the vivid mode as default is, I think, the worst that Honor can choose here. Even though perhaps you have a different opinion, you can write it down in the comment section. We have the motion sensing capture, so that means it automatically captures when it sends motion. This is like for sports and action. It didn't work so well on my dog here indoors. It doesn't work so well indoors anyways, because it's raising up the shutter speed and the ISO at the same time, and then you get blurrier shots because just the ISO is so high that don't do it indoors. Outdoor shots probably work a little bit better. And then selfie indoor is also struggling a little bit because it's like an ISO at 1000. The selfie cam is just too small. The AI has to rescue stuff here by recreating eyebrows and recreating eyes a little bit there. You can also see that sometimes we have blurry hairs here. Sometimes we have like sharpened up hair. So it is struggling a little bit. It's okay, but for this price region, you probably don't get any better selfie cam in my opinion. Yeah, and that's it. My first impressions is a bit of a mixed bag. I don't see much of a progress in terms of what we had with the predecessor. Maybe the main camera sensor with 2x zoom is having a little bit more details there, but I have to test it against the Honor 200 Pro to be absolutely sure. I'm not completely disappointed, but I'm not completely blown away by the Honor 400 Pro when it comes to the camera performance here. The software version that I'm testing this with is currently to date this version 900.121, and this should be, when we go and check out the About phone, it should be Android version 15, that's for sure. What about the security? Patch level May 2025. So we have June already. I would guess in a month or so I will get the next update for this one that hopefully will improve not only security but also a little bit more. But look at this gorgeous display. Doesn't it look nice? I really like those Honor smartphones and their display because they are always top notch. Quick charging wirelessly or wired is possible. Wired, we get up to 100 watt charging, as you can see here, so very, very fast. Wireless charging is possible with 50 watt of charging if you have the compatible Honor charger for this. Let's check out the volume of the two speakers here. This is now 100%, and we have even a 200% mode. So with the 200% mode, it gets quite loud, I would say, as loud as all the other ones. It sounds okay, I would say. It is not distorting it anyway, even at 200%. And the bottom firing has a little bit more bass than the top firing there for sure. But it is okay, I would say, but it's not close to the one that we have on the Magic 7 Pro or the RSR edition there, or even the Magic 6 Pro in that matter. The operating system here is macOS 9 and it has been optimized a little bit. There are a few tweaks here and there. Like for example, we have now a power off button that we can reach here in the control center. Otherwise, it looks very clean. It's very fast, very optimized for this kind of device. And otherwise, it still has some old school kind of menu system in certain areas. But it has some nice features and additions there, and it is very customized. I like that they were inspired by some other original devices. As you see here down below, when we go to wallpaper and customs, we have like this menu. That reminds me a lot of what we have with another device, and we can control everything and set everything on here, even the rounded corners there. You can make it a little bit less round, as you see, or more round. So these are the possibilities here to tweak. There's a blur that we can set up. So if I want this kitten to be blurred, I don't really want to be blurred, but I can do it here. I can choose layouts here as well. I can choose minimalist or categorized layouts or historic layouts as well. If I have set some up, I can set up here to various different ones. You can see you can customize it very much. So yes, they optimized this a little bit in terms of customization, which is quite nice. It was necessary to make it a bit more modern, and I think they really did it. It is a global version, so we have the Google feed here. Like I said, you have the possibility to go to Control Center or your notifications here, which is quite nice. And I told you already about the version number. It didn't change throughout my testing so far. It's version 9.0.0.121. So this is the version I'm working with. It's running very fluid and I like it very much, especially also with this customizations. Look at this. By the way, there is the possibility to also set double tap to wake, but I think there's also somewhere double tap to make it sleep. So this is also now possible here. Let's go and see. Sleep. There's a possibility, I think, somewhere in the settings to make it double tap to sleep. Let's search for double tap. So this is what I mean by it's a bit archaic. You have to search for certain things there. There we go. Double tap to wake and double tap to turn off the screen. So this is possible as well. And then you can see this nice AOD lock screen there. And if I double tap again, you can see the clock here behind the cat ears. So we have the 3D depth effect as well. 2D face unlock is working as well. It's working very nice. The fingerprint reader also without any issues there. No matter which finger I have scanned in, it's working very fine, even though it's not an ultrasonic one. Same experience I had with the Magic 6 RSR that I'm using for filming here right now. Even if it's an optical one, they are not particularly very bad. The only thing is you have to make sure not to get your thumb too wet, otherwise it will be a bit hard, or not to do it too quickly as you see here. But even if I do it too quickly, the face unlock usually is rescuing it, and then I can unlock it with my face. Honor is on the forefront of AI. They were it always, also with the previous devices, but now they did it, I think, one level even more. Besides the AI outline, AI cutouts, and object removal or person removal, we have now the ability to just create videos. If I click on create here, I have to agree to a bunch of things, and there I have image to video. And if I click on this, I have to agree again. I can add an image, I can add several images. So let me put this image there on my selfie, and I can start generating a video out of this image. And you can see this will take a few seconds, but this is really fantastic because it then creates a roughly 5 seconds video out of a still image. And this is now an image taken on the Honor 400 Pro, but it can also take other images and photos that I took with other devices, even if I put them on the Honor 400 Pro. And so I can create a video out of an image. And here it is, this 5-second clip that you can see here. I'm not moving around too much there, at least not smiling, but the camera is moving a little bit around. So yeah, definitely something that you can use for restoring some of your older photos especially. Just like with the previous versions, Honor also have, of course, its magic portal, so I can just drag in something to my favorite space, to the gallery, to messages, Gmail, YouTube or TikTok, and just upload it there to this side or this side, which is quite cool. I can even take multiple photos and post them on Twitter or X or other platforms that you like to use. So this is a pretty nice and interesting feature. And of course, the magic capsule is on board again as well. So you have the ability to see your timers there. And more apps are now supported, which is quite cool. So for example, if I'm in Nextcloud here and I'm playing back my music clip, you will see that when I swipe up, it will also land in here. So I have now the possibility to control this as well, which is, I think, quite cool. All in all, the Honor 400 Pro is quite a surprise for me, as I didn't expect to like this phone so much coming from the Honor 200 Pro. That was really good, but I didn't like it at one point. Maybe it's the broken glass on the Honor 200 Pro or the camera bump design that I didn't like, or just the slim kind of body that it had that was a bit boring because it reminded me of all the predecessors we had. With the Honor 400 Pro, with a little bit of a thicker body, it is feeling a little bit nicer in the hand. I can grip it more easily. It doesn't feel as fragile as this one, and if I drop it, I'll break directly. And also the cameras look a little bit more interesting, even though, yes, they got inspired by a certain other company that starts with an H. It is definitely something that looks a bit nicer than the Honor 200 Pro, in my opinion. And yeah, you be the judge, but I feel it looks a little bit more substantial and feels a little bit more substantial, even though the lightness of both devices is almost the same. But I think ultimately it's just because it's a smaller device. You can see this is a bit more narrow and a little bit taller, where this is a little wider, I think. At least it feels a bit wider. And it is not as tall. So the power button and the volume rocker I can reach easily, where here it's always a bit hard. Even though it looks like they're almost at the same level, you can see they're a bit higher here on the 200 Pro and smaller, and this is like feels a little bit fiddlier than on this device that has a bit more of a substantial grip to it. Yes, grip, I think, is the right term that I like to use here. You have a nice and more grippier design, even though I would not use this as I had this experience with this already here without a case. But for a case, I will do a dedicated video about a case, because yes, I think you can get an original TPU case if you order it right now from Honor, but maybe there's another better case that I can show you as well. So as the cameras seem to be a little bit of a downgrade, not on the front, but more the 200 megapixel on the back a little bit. The rest I think is pretty okay for this kind of device. The software optimization rescue it a little bit here and there, even though I still would say that the older Honor 200 Pro has the better main camera sensor, and it shows especially in low light. The daylight pictures are almost equal, not much of a difference. Sometimes it feels like they get a little bit more details out of the 200 megapixel sensor here on this device. But cameras are pretty solid. The only downside that gripe that I had already with the Honor 200 Pro is the USB Type-C port. If I want to capture nice 4K videos, I can do on the front and on the back. But transferring them over via USB Type-C is a pain, because we only have 2.0 speeds here. And I really like to see 3.1 speeds, and I really like to see display out to be able to have this powerful Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 here, connect to a large screen so I can cut my video like I'm doing this right now here on the Honor Magic 6 RSR on a large television screen with a keyboard and mouse. So my verdict of the Honor 400 Pro. I think it's a good upgrade for those who like to have a new mid-range phone. If you already have an Honor 200 Pro, probably skip this one, wait for the next one. The only thing that you might want to do is, like, if you have a broken one or a broken bag and you have the pocket money lying around, maybe get the new one here, because it might be a nice of an upgrade. Otherwise, yeah, this one is, if you are deciding between those two, definitely this one is a little bit cheaper, has a little bit more powerful camera, but this one here, on the long run, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, probably will get more updates. You have the faster CPU, you have more fun in gaming if you like to game, and I think the cameras are also very solid. You get definitely more update support with the Honor 400 Pro, so this is the one that I would get. I honestly like the bit more compact kind of design, even though it's a bit thicker in my hands. This here feels nicer in the hand than this here for sure, even though this feels a little bit lighter than this here. This is more substantial. It feels more business than this feels a little bit more toyish, let's say it like this. So if you have some questions regarding my first impressions on the Honor 400 Pro, write them down in the comment section. I will do, of course, a camera comparison Honor 200 Pro against the Honor 400 Pro to see which camera system is really the best or the better here of those two, especially not only on the back, but also on the front as well. Video, photos, and everything else, side-by-side comparisons as you know them from LL Techview. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. Until the next time, bye.